Good morning and welcome to Equity Story, the 30th of March, Thursday. I'm on my own today. Dave is away, so please bear with me. We're going to go through a few announcements this morning. I'm going to look at some commodities, see what's going on possibly globally as well, and see if I can find some interesting stuff to talk about today. Before I go on, Equity Story disclaimer is in front of you. General advice, of course. Every story I'm going to be talking about today is looking at fundamentals and technicals only. So let's get on with it. And before I do that, I'll quickly change the screen. And I want to look at with you the screen where I've got the actual announcements. So you can see in front of me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have a quick look at HMC. And I'm just going to quickly go to charting so you can see where it is. Basically, what's happening here is we've got takeover of Healthscope hospitals. So the actual buildings by WMC and HCW. So let's have a look at those stories right now. So you can see for yourself where that's heading. And here it is, HWC. See if it's trending. And we'll probably also have a look at, oops, sorry, HMC, we don't want that. We want HMC. So we want to have a look at, hopefully, the charts, and it is not a great chart, of course. So look at that, it's not even tradable. Would you be buying it? No, you probably wouldn't. I think there's better stories out there right now, but it's a big announcement for HMC. They're trading on about 22 times. You've got a yield of about 5, so that's probably just not enough for a dividend play. We've got so many others that we have been playing recently with that better dividend yield, probably better sector as well. I mean, REITs, you know, property owners at the moment, maybe just not sure about. So we just leave them to the keeper probably, and we're going to play with some other stuff like the smaller type stuff with good growth, with much bigger dividends. All right, so that's takes care of that one. Let's look at PMT, who came out with announcement on the drilling results. And yesterday we talked about lithium and how obviously LTR had a really big jump on the back of Albemarle takeover offer, which of course just made every other lithium player stayed up go, well, what about us type of thing. There's probably some short covering there as well. So it's just interesting how there's a bit of a now more movement into PMTs and some others. But, you know, if you look at today, Patriot's announcements, it's pretty good, right? You've got some really strong hits. You've got, I think you're talking about 70 odd meters at 3% lithium. I mean, that's really high grade. That's even better grade than Greenbushes, which is probably classified as the best global mine for lithium, right? So this is really up there. This PMT, at the moment, the drilling that we've seen over the last few months, it's shaping up as probably the next Greenbushes. That's how good this seems to be. So if you are going to be playing, and like I talked yesterday with on the video, if you're going to be playing that game of looking for something for long term in a lithium space that has got a great chance of making it, because I think, you know, there's a lot of really not good stuff out there. This is going to be probably one of them out there. So I'd be looking at it, even though its market cap's 1.7 billion odd. You know what we've seen with Albemarle taking what a 5.6 billion stab at LTR. If you take maybe the longer term view, this potentially could be cheap if they can deliver really big resource, really high grades, and, you know, a path to development type of speak. So I can see there's definitely big potential for Patriot. So one to definitely play with, and maybe own if you're a believer in lithium space. But saying that, right? Saying that, would I be going there? I'm probably caught. So I'm just going to go flick the screens here, because this is going to be the interesting bit, right? So I'm going to go to look at the commodities, and I'll show you why I'm sort of not sure, because the lithium prices are going down. So I'm going to go to new screen share, and I'll show you. So you've got here lithium prices, right? Down 30% for the month. Weekly down 8%. And if you look at the actual chart, it looks like it's probably going even lower, right? I'm going to go a little bit longer. There you go. So you've got 2020, 2021. That's when it started to pump. So the last 1.5 years went up to 600,000. Now it's come back to 260,000. And I think it's got probably lower to go at this stage, right? The best mines will survive. The best projects will survive in this space. Hence yesterday's my talk about lithium space. You're probably IGOs, which has got Greenbushes. You've got Wesfarmers, which has got Mount Holland. You've got Mineral Resources, which has got Wodgina, and LTR, which is obviously Kathleen Valley. They're the ones that stood out for me. And of course, PLS with the Pilbara tenements as well. So that's the cream of the crop. The rest of them, probably not big enough, probably not good enough grades, especially if lithium comes back to that 200,000. And this is what I'm thinking what's going to happen. This price is going to sort out the men from the boys. And a lot of these other stories out there are probably going to struggle to make any money or any headway or raise any cash to get their mind up and going. You really want the best of the best if you're going to be investing in this space when things are normalizing again, right? That's been proven over many, many years, many decades, that if you're going to be investing into sort of this sort of space, you need to be investing into quality stuff. All right. So that's the sort of lithium. I think it's going to be look, but like I said, PMT is definitely one to play with. Now, let's go back to commodities. Let's have a look what's going on here. And I actually so if you look at the gold is really not going that great this week, right? It's still going up there. 963 is still very good. It tested at 2000. It's come back a little bit this week. It's down only 0.3 for the week. So no problems, right? It is still, I think, probably bullish. What the problem might be with gold is now the market really had a good session last night on the back that maybe some things are settling down in the banking space. And that's the reason why gold had a really good run to $2,000, right? Plus, of course, maybe a little bit on the inflation side as well. But that was the predominantly reason why gold had a really good spike, possibly on the banking crisis. Now that's sort of starting to die down a bit, and we've had more time to digest everything, and we've had speech by the RBA, by the Fed, and all the other, I suppose, main central banks out there, saying that it's not as bad as the traders and maybe the bears are saying out there. So that's starting to settle down. Definitely we're not out of the woods yet, but you got to take that positively, and maybe that's going to weigh on gold for the moment. So I'm watching it very carefully. Of course, I'm still probably going to be in this. There's no damage done whatsoever this week. It's still up for the month. It's still up for the year. It just hasn't done much this week on the back of settling the markets. But just give it another week, see what happens. But just watch it very closely. What I do like, however, is some of the other commodities. Look at some of the other commodities, what's been happening. So I'm going to go to for example, leads up 1.7% for the week. Aluminium up 4%, tin up 12% for the week, zinc up 3%, nickel up 7% for the week. Some of these main metals, base metals, are going quite well. So S32s, possibly, you've got BHPs, the Rios, and if you go back to the steel, the iron ore, that hasn't been too bad, down 2% for the week, but it's bouncing off. I actually thought it's going to go down probably below 120 and maybe retest at 100, but it had a little bit of a bounce this week, or at least the last few days. So not too much damage done for iron ore. If it can hold at 120, you're probably going to be okay with some of the bigger stories, some of the commodity plays out there. So I think this is a space still possibly to play with. So I'm going to come back and have a look at some of these companies' charts to see where they are actually at. Let's see if there's anything else stand out. I know that some people were talking about uranium. That really hasn't done much. It's just been pretty flat, really. Wouldn't be going there at all. I don't mind Brent and crude oil and oil in general up for the week, right? So that's probably another place. So Woodside, we talked about it as well. So again, I'm going to look at the chart in a moment. Let's have a look at the chart of the oil, what's going on. It's actually bouncing back a little bit. It probably needs to do more, possibly get back to the $80, but it's good signs that it just had a bit of a bounce this week, right? So I think if you look at it, maybe the longer term, so let's go back to a week. I'm probably thinking that that's maybe my base case, $60. And it's probably going to trade between 60 and $80 for the moment. So for a Woodside dividend player, I'm very happy with that, right? If you can trend between those those figures over the next 12 months, I think you're going to be okay with your Woodsides. And also, you know, the ALDs and the VEAs of the world. So that's also positive. So let's go back again, look at some commodities, see where we're at. And let's look at, for example, iron ore, because obviously that's another important thing. And you can see, like I said, it's come back. It's bounced to that 120. It's bouncing back. Do I think it's going to bounce to 130? Probably not, but at least it's holding, right? And I think, just generally thinking, it's probably a little bit overpriced. It needs to come back a little bit lower, maybe 110, maybe $100. But you know, it's still looking pretty good. So I'm fairly happy. And probably the last one let's have a look at is copper. That's the main metal or base metal that we're looking forward to see how they actually trades. Whereas copper is going to be here. So let's see, it's over $4 per pound, which is pretty good. And look at that. I mean, that actually long-term chart is actually pretty good, right? It's holding on. It went back to the 380, bounced over 4. So if you're looking for copper plays again, you know, you're probably looking at those SFRs. And again, I'm going to have a look at it right now. So let's change screens. Let's look at some of these commodity plays and see where they're at. So let's start with SFR, copper. Whoops. Let's go to that. SFR. Okay, let's see that. Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's holding quite well. Let's go to the weekly. Daily actually looks pretty good, but the weekly should still look pretty good. Look at that. That's actually pretty strong. One more day like this, and possibly maybe we could have a buy signal on SFR. So that's building up nicely. Let's look at S32. Let's see how that's going. So that's slightly below trend. So maybe that's one you just got to wait for a little bit longer. But again, you know, that's building up too. So maybe next week you could see this another trade. Let's look at BHP, where they're at. And again, we've got this in our portfolio as the dividend payer, BHP. We're pretty comfortable. We'll see how things are selling. But look at the bounce here. It's just, I'd say that's going to be probably on, maybe on Dave's Einstein's the end of the week, as long as, of course, we've got another day to go, right? It needs to finish probably around this $46 somewhere on Friday. But again, that's building up nicely. So you can see, you know, the commodities are going okay, holding their line. In fact, some of them are looking quite good. And it's reflective on BHPs. It's reflective on, you know, your SFRs and so on. So it's something that you can possibly look at as a trade maybe for next week, because the markets are settling line. We talked about it just a second ago. And maybe there's a bit more risk coming back onto the markets. One thing we just got to definitely talk about and remember is next, with middle of April, we've got again the reporting season starting up in the US. So that possibly is a big risk event. So we're going to remember that. And of course, April is going to be our quarterly reporting season as well. So we're going to have a lot of figures coming out, and that could fluctuate for our market as well. So that's what's going on here. Let's have a look if we can see anything happening on the market itself. If there is stocks that are standing out, and I actually look, I'll show you one or two that I think are going very, very well. So I'll be looking maybe for them on Friday. And one of them was IPG, which was looking very, actually, let's look at Matter Group first, right? So you've got Matter Group here. It's starting to bounce. Look at that chart. It looks absolutely beautiful, right? So one to watch for the traders out there, even for investors out there. I'd be looking for this one as a possible long-term investment for Matter Group. We really like the story, and the chart looks very, very good. And IGL was the other one. Let's have a look at that one. I love that chart from yesterday. It was looking very good. So let me see if I can find it. It should be here somewhere. Where are we? Here we go. IGL. No, IGL. So IPG. IPG. I want IPG. There's it. Here we go. Okay, hang on a second. I'll quickly find it for you by name. I think that's going to be easier because it's moving around. All right, here we go, IPG. And you can see how big my watch list is, right? Anyway, you can see what's going on. But look at the jump on IPG. Look at the chart here. Freaking believable, right? What a turnaround. It had a bounce off that. That's looking great for next. If you can hold that 319, 320, that's going to be the highest close ever. That's a very bullish sign. Another one that we really like is looking pretty good. So there's a lot of charts forming for the end of the week. And if the market like that behaves itself, we had a really good day. We're probably going to have a good day on ASX. If you can just have another decent day tomorrow, we're going to have some really good charts. So if you're a trader, it should be really licking your lips for tomorrow and possibly having some of these stocks. Hopefully there's nothing left field come out of the US, the banking crisis, maybe engulf some other bank or whatever. But for the moment, the talk has been pretty good. Reassuring everyone, investors are coming back. So I'm pretty happy. All right, I'm going to finish on that. Thank you very much for listening to me. Have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.